like to call this May 15th meeting of the Cookeville City Council to order, please. Can we have a roll call?
Councilman Anderson.
Present.
Councilman Shelton.
Here.
Mayor Salee.
Present.
Vice Mayor Davis.
Present.
Councilman Williams.
Present.
All present.
If we could all rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda, Mr. Shibley?
Have one addition. Need to add a resolution requesting that the Putnam County Commission comply with the future land use plans and zoning requirements of the City of Cookeville in determining the location of a county jail facility.
We'll call that item 10.
Item 10, and would you like to sponsor that, Mr. Mayor? Or?
That'll be fine.
Okay.
All right, do we have a motion and a second to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion by the council? Seeing none, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Brings us to our old business portion of the meeting. Item 2, consider approval of minutes of council meeting held May the 1st, 2008. Do we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Have our motion and second. Any comments? Any comments from the audience? Seeing none, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Item 3, consider on second and final reading ordinance 080505, amending Title 9, Chapter 4, Section 9-4113 and 4, pertaining to taxi cabs. Sponsor Chief Bob Terry.
Mayor and Council, this is the ordinance that you passed 2 weeks ago. We've not had any calls or comments about it, and I'd recommend your approval.
Do we have a motion and second?
Move approval. Second.
We have our motion or second. Any discussion by the council? Any comments from the audience? Seeing none, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you, Keith. Item 4, consider on second and final reading ordinance 080404, amendments to the official street map. Sponsor Mr. James Mills.
Mayor and council members, this is second reading of this ordinance. The amendments have been approved by the Planning Commission and recommended by the Planning Department. We've received no calls or comments since first reading.
Can we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion by the council? Any comments from the audience? Seeing none, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Brings us to our new business portion of our meeting. Item 5, consider appointments to the Historic Zoning Commission. Sponsor Mr. James Mills.
Mayor and council members, we have a vacancy on the Historic Commission due to the resignation of Charles Martin. Mr. Martin served as the representative of the Cream City Historic District. Ms. Kathy Lamb has been contacted and has agreed to serve and complete Mr. Martin's term, which will expire on January 1st, 2011. Members of the Historic Zoning Commission are appointed by the mayor with confirmation by the City Council. The Planning Department recommends for the appointment of Ms. Lamb.
Well, I'll make it in the form of a motion that we appoint Ms. Lamb to the Historic Zoning Commission.
Second.
And a second. All in favor, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Item 6, consider appointments to the Cookeville Tree Board. Sponsor Mayor Salee. I have a letter here from Peggy Evans, our chair of the Cookeville Tree Board. They apparently have 2 openings, and they have met with a Mrs. Marty Foster. She has volunteered to do that, so I will make that as a motion as well.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion by the council? Seeing none, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
All right, item 7, consider of approval of emergency repair of Tower 1 ladder truck. Fire Department, sponsor Chief John Kendrick.
Mayor and council, I had to perform emergency repair on the tower truck. We had a internal swivel which is in the waterway that had failed. All the electronic components run through that swivel that keeps the sensors working correctly to keep the truck in areas where it won't turn over. And under the circumstances, we contacted the dealer that's in Nashville for conducting the repair.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Move approval.
Got a
Second.
motion and our second. Discussion by the council.
How old is this truck?
8 years old. And the swivel's been sent back to the factory to see if they can figure out what caused the internal failure, and they're not sure at this time.
Obviously, something that wouldn't be under warranty.
No,
or
it's not
anything.
under warranty, and it's not something they see on a regular basis either, so that's why they were curious about going back through it to see if they could give us some feedback on why.
How was the failure discovered? I mean, was it in service when it failed?
When they were checking the truck one morning, some of the sensors quit working, and then about a day later, they went to turn on some generators, and things arced, and then other things started quitting, and all. But there's like 28 brass rings inside it that everything conducts through,
So did it damage other things on the truck as well?
other than some electronic sensors, and that's why it's so high, because they had to change everything out.
How long will it be out of?
It's already been repaired.
Oh, okay, so it's repaired.
What, did you just pull it out of service and we had to use the
We
other-
talked to Nashville about it, and they went ahead and started ordering parts. They sort of diagnosed it over the phone. We kept it in service and used extra people around the truck if we were utilizing it, set up some additional guidelines, and then once it went to Nashville, we brought the 72 ladder up here, so we'd still have coverage within the city.
So how long was it out of service?
Roughly 2 weeks by the time they finished the repair.
Do we have our motion in a second? I think we do. Any further discussion by the council? Any comments from the audience? Seeing none, I'll vote.
Thank you.
5
you,
yes
Chief.
votes, motion carries.
Item 8, consider approval of water and wastewater rates and financial planning studies. Sponsor, Mr. Ronnie Kelly.
Let me pop back. Mayor and council, last fall, Councilman Shelton requested that we make sure that new development was paying their fair share of their water and wastewater costs and not placing an undue burden upon our existing ratepayers. Prior to Mr. Shelton's request, I had been reviewing some different rate structures across the country and trying to determine if our department, if we needed an alternative rate structure that was more suitable to our operation. During those reviews, it became apparent that there are many different rate structures used across the country. I was aware of a highly regarded rate consultant, and I called them up and talked to them about doing a rate study for us, what that cost would be. They sent me a proposal, and I sent it back to them, asked them to reprice that proposal. And they have sent us a proposal now that I'm comfortable with to recommend to you. The cost of that proposal is $44,861, and I'm going to walk you through basically what that, the objectives of a rate study and what that would do. It will evaluate the appropriateness of the existing rate structure providing water and wastewater services for our customers. It will recommend a cost-justified water and wastewater rates that are consistent with industrial processing standards and practices and fully support system operation and maintenance, repair and replacement, debt service and debt service coverage requirements. It will recommend water and wastewater capacity charges that support growth-related projects to ensure that new customers are making an equitable contribution toward the capital investment in the capacity to accommodate growth. We will evaluate the appropriateness of the existing wholesale water rates and potentially recommending a wholesale rate methodology that is more consistent with the cost of providing that service. And it will communicate the basis and merits of the recommended changes to the water and wastewater rates and charges to the City Council, the existing customers, local developers, and other relevant stakeholders. The Raftellus Group is the group that I've been talking with. They were established in '93. They're nationally known. They do these studies all across the country. I've listed some of the other cities just in the southeast that you might have heard of, just for your information. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but I would recommend approval.
Do we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Have our motion and our second. Discussion by the council?
I was present when this group came and presented their case, I guess it is, and I must say I think it would be a very beneficial thing for the city of Cookeville to do. And it usually when you do something like this, it supports what you're already doing and helps you see where you can do better. So I was very impressed with them.
Very good.
I've got a slide here. I'll show you. This is a comparison of what our rates are with the state average rates that are done every year, the survey's done, and you can see that water cost in Cookeville per the state average, we're very cheap compared to the state average. And here's the sewer cost. And costs are going up over time, and we're going to have a lot of projects coming up over the next few years. And what we need to decide is how do we want to fund them? Do we want to keep doing like we're doing, spread out all the costs? A lot of people, a lot of systems do that. And I think that they'll help us walk through and make that determination.
How is it that the state's rates have gone up sort of gradually, and we have maintained like level, and then had spikes, and then leveled out again?
I think it's how you want to raise your rates. Some people want to raise them a little bit at a time. Some people, and you can see we've sort of kept rates pretty constant through here, and then we raise the rates pretty dramatically here, and then sort of level back out again. You build cash, do construction projects, then you try to raise your rates to build more cash and slow down a little bit. Lots of different ways to raise rates.
That's what
Lots
we're
of
going to
different
hear about.
methodologies.
And that's what we'll hear
A lot
about.
and a lot of systems do it just like we do it. But there's the issues of, do you want growth to help pay some of that cost, that future capital cost that they're going to cost your system, or do you want to spread that cost out amongst all your ratepayers? And I think that's what this company has seen it all across the country. All the different ways to do it, what cases or what rate structures are acceptable to the court systems, and those type of things.
I think when I originally mentioned this to you, Murfreesboro had just started their impact fees or something. And you and I had talked about that. And, you know, whatever it is, we may be doing the right thing, but certainly we need to plan for our future, and this is, I believe, the best way to do that. Maybe even some of the other departments, we may need to do this at some point just to make sure we're in line and are doing the right things for future growth.
As it relates to the fee, I mean, most of the cities on this list are much larger than Cookeville. I didn't know, does the number of residents or meters or anything like that have anything to do with the fee, or is the fee?
No, it's
a
broken
fee?
down by man hours, and I can provide you a copy of that determination.
I didn't know if a larger municipality would require a bigger fee, or whether it has anything like that.
They're basing on the expected number of man hours to do what we were asking them to do.
Actually, this list of cities, it's a wide variety of population,
Yeah, I mean,
isn't it? Because Rock Hill, South Carolina is small. It's much smaller than Cookeville.
I just put a few of them in
Yeah.
there. There's a whole sheets of them. You know, like I said, they do it all over the country. California, they're everywhere. They do everywhere.
So they'll do a formal report and a presentation to us at the end?
Yes.
Okay.
And the thought process is you bring your stakeholders in, people that's going to be affected, and you bring everybody in and try to get everybody on board if you want to change the way we raise rates. And you try to get a consensus built. And that's what they'll try to do, and walk us through that.
Mr. Kelly, how long will it take them to do the study, or do they have any idea?
It was about, I think, a 3 to 4 month window. I'm not sure if I have that sheet. They gave me a timeline.
I think it was about 4 months.
I thought it was 4 months. but
Maybe 3 to 4 months.
Do they analyze how you're already doing your future forecast? Do they look at how you're doing it now, not just your rates, but also your forecasting for your plant and infrastructure improvements? And
Yeah, that's part of the process of trying to look at how far do you want to look at. Do you want to look at 5-year, 10-year? What rate structure do you need to be able to fund those projects?
Okay.
And develop a model for us that we can sit there and change different components of that model and see how it affects our revenue streams and go through it all.
Very good.
I've talked to a lot of cities that's hired these guys, and they're all very pleased with them, very professional people, and they all say they do a great job, excellent job.
Very good. Any further comments by the council? Any comments from the audience? Seeing none, I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Kelly. Item 9, consider awarding bids for transformers and rebuilt digger derrick truck. Electric Department sponsor, Mr. Tony Peak.
Oh, slide. Hopefully I can explain this well. We have open bids on transformers and rebuilding one of our digger derrick trucks. I'm not sure how they're lined up in your packet of information, but
Do 225 kV and then a 37.5 kV.
Right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
On the 225 kVA pad mount transformer, we had 5 bidders recommend Deco Supply as the low evaluated bidder meeting specifications. And if it pleases the council, I'll talk about all of these, and please stop me at any time and ask any questions you might have. On the 37.5 kVA pad mount transformers, 5 bidders. Also, Utilicor I'd recommend as the low evaluated bidder meeting specifications. On the final bid tabulation schedule, it's a rebuild of one of our older digger derrick trucks. We had money in this year's budget to buy a new digger derrick truck, and with all the emission stuff that's going on now, once we looked at that solicited bids, it turned out we were about $20,000 to $40,000 low on our estimate of what the truck was going to cost based on previous trucks. So what we started looking at then was possibly a rebuild of that digger derrick. The boom is a 1973. Believe it or not, those things generally only last about 15 years, but this one has really been a good one. It's a small truck, and we've decided we really would like to keep it because of its maneuverability on some of the tighter streets and stuff. It works real well for us. A new digger would probably cost you around $175,000 to $200,000. We're going to be able to rebuild this boom, get the truck painted, the cabin chassis, and get everything done for about $29,000. Now, when we put that out, we asked them to give us a trade-in value on that truck, should we buy a new one. That was $12,000. Well, once we had 12 and the 29 and we came to 41, we thought, man, this is a heck of a deal. So we've decided to refurbish that truck. It's presently mounted on a 1994 cabin chassis. It's only has about 34,000 miles on it because most of its use is driving somewhere and parking and the boom being used. But feel real good about it and recommend your approval. For the low bidder meeting specifications, that being utility equipment service, $29,224.
Do we have a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion by the council?
Just note to all the other department heads, Tony saved $134,000 in capital.
I'm thinking
on
fire
this
trucks
line.
need to be rebuilt,
Yeah.
maybe. 1973 ladder truck. Yes.
Well, before I accept that kudo, I thank you. You know, we may have to look at replacing that cabin chassis in a couple of years.
Yeah.
When
Thank you.
they rebuild this, is there any warranty or guarantee that goes
There'll be
with it?
like probably a 1-year warranty on the boom,
Okay.
but that's generally about all you
Generally.
get with a new one anyway. So.
Okay. Any further discussion? Comments? Seeing none, I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Feek. Now I'd like to bring to you item 10, consider awarding or approval of resolution of the City Council requesting that the Putnam County Commission comply with future land use plans and zoning requirements of the City of Cookeville in determining the location of a new county jail facility. And I'd like to just read this resolution. It's kind of a short resolution. Whereas Putnam County Commission is considering the purchase of properties within the City of Cookeville for the location of a jail annex, and whereas the City of Cookeville has adopted land use plans for the future development of the city and zoning provisions specifying how properties can be utilized, both of which identify where public and institutional uses such as jails can be located. And whereas it appears the Putnam County Commission is considering the purchase of properties for the jail annex which would not conform with the future plans of the city, would not be in compliance with the zoning regulations of the city, and would negatively impact hundreds of established residential properties. Now therefore be it hereby resolved by the City Council of Cookeville, Tennessee, that the Putnam County Commission is hereby requested to consider locations for the jail annex outside the corporate limits of Cookeville, or if inside the City of Cookeville, locations which conform and comply with the future land use plans and zoning regulations of the city and which will affect the minimum number of residents. And I'll bring that to the council as a motion. If I
So-
can get a second.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion by the council? I know the county has a tough job dealing with our jail and prison situation. We certainly want to work with the county commission as best we can, but I know our city, we spend a tremendous amount of energy, as Councilman Williams knows, on the planning commission with our planning department trying to protect residential areas in our city. And we just want to work with the county commission as best we can to minimize the impact, so hopefully we can do that.
Well, and it'd be nice to work within our plan and find opportunities to use land to the best advantage, both to the county and to the city.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we have to remember, we do not have a lot of land within the city limits, and much of that has, as we have stated, it's been purposely zoned for various things, and so it's hard to change that. And we would hope that they would understand, that the county commission would understand that we do have these ideas for these particular zones, and hope that they can work out something.
And then, of course, anytime a piece of property is taken for public use, it certainly takes it off the tax rolls and is less income to the city and the county, for that matter. So we need to be cognizant of that as well.
I think, too, I mean, you have places like Nashville that are doing redevelopments in their downtown areas, trying to encourage residents to live closer to where they work so that there's less transportation to and from work, less fuel spent. And as gas and fuel costs go up, I think more and more people will be considering living closer into the city of Cookeville. And you know, those people those that are working every day are going to have to commute and drive into work, as these prisoners are not going to be commuting anywhere. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, they can be out farther. Any further comments by the council? Any comments from the audience? Seeing none, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. At this time, we've got a couple of quick announcements. Let me go ahead and turn it over to Councilwoman Anderson. She has some special guests here tonight.
I have the Avery Trace Middle School Student Council with us today. If you guys will stand up and be recognized. They are going to spend the evening with us, and then we go this afternoon. After this, we'll have our end-of-the-year meal, and tomorrow we have our end-of-the-year dance, and so we wanted them to experience a little government here in the true sense of the matter. So here are our future leaders, and I'm glad that they're here tonight. Thank you guys for
Thank you
coming.
for coming.
And I don't know if anybody's set up to introduce the group in the back, but
We've got the
if you
leadership
guys,
Putnam.
yeah, right. I was going to pick on them because I know several of them.
Me too.
But
Pick a
Chucky,
few
why
out
don't
back
you
there.
stand up and tell why you're here tonight?
Chucky.
Oh, yes, we all get back at teenagers.
We are here tonight because we have a list of requirements, and it's so that we can better ourselves and learn more about the community before we go to the leadership department.
Very good.
Thank you. Why don't you all
Already
stand up
pretty
and
good.
let us
If the Leadership
recognize you.
Putnam Youth Academy could stand up and be recognized, it'd be great.
There
We
you
appreciate you
go.
coming.
Another group of our future leaders. Thank you.
I would just like to say I applaud all of you for participating in your schools, governments, and taking a leadership role, and I would encourage you to stick that out and participate all the way through school. It's a very worthwhile activity. One other announcement that we have, and Greg may want to speak to this. There's going to be some intersection closing and repair coming up in Cookeville. Looks like starting 6 p.m. this Friday, May the 16th, and continuing through 6 a.m. the following Monday. Looks like we've got Jackson Street at Willow, Jackson Street at South Jefferson, and Stevens Street at South Jefferson. So if you drive through those areas on a regular basis this coming weekend, be ready to find an alternate route. And I'm assuming we'll have signage with a detour recommending some sort of alternative route. So be prepared to do that. And then, Gene, do you have any
No, I
Usually
can't think of it.
come to us with all kinds of good ideas and things.
Well, I'd like to say
I
something.
can think of something.
Seeing in the back, one of the student government young ladies is just so happens to be my neighbor, but her name's Kayla. She's in the back, but I wanted to honor her great grandparents, or my neighbors, Elmer and Ruth Woodford. They're celebrating their 70th anniversary today.
Oh.
And so they're a great couple and a great neighbor, and one of the great things about Cookeville is family, and so they've been in our family for many, many years, and Miss Woodford's health is not doing well right now, and so they've been great neighbors to us and loved on our kids, and I want to honor them for their marriage. 70 years is a long time. So
That's very good.
Mr. Brown, how long will the rain and stuff affect the road work, you think? Or? Okay, all right.
Should be good.
But the citizens should remember the reason why we're closing these roads is to get rid of the terribly deep ruts there. So when we pour these back in concrete, they won't have the problems that they're having with the bumps and things on the approach coming downhill.
That'll be good. Be very much safer, I think. Any further comments from the council before I open it up to the audience? At this time, we invite our citizens to come and speak for up to 3 minutes about anything that, any ideas or suggestions you might have for the city of Cookeville, or things that you think we could improve upon. So feel free to come. If you didn't come tonight and would like to come in the future, please remember that we do have open meetings here, and glad to have your comments. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.